Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome for a new lesson for the secondary grade for your book, The Traveler 3. And today we have some listening, reading, vocabulary, and grammar. So we almost have the four skills. Okay, so let's get started with what we learned today. Our objectives are three, as you can see. One, activate background knowledge about some heroes in order to listen and read. Number two, use collocations with say and tell in context. And number three, practice in using who, which, where, and whose in relative clauses. So for number one, as you can see, we're going to have some information about heroes. We're going to read about famous heroes in order to practice some listening and reading. And number two, we're going to use collocations like say and tell. And we mean by collocations, we mean words that they have the same meaning, but almost they're still different in some details. So what is the difference between say and what is the difference between tell? It's the same like work, job, profession, career, and so on. And for three, we're going to practice using the WHs to make relative clauses like when do we use who, which, where, and whose. And sometimes we have two sentences and we connect them together in one sentence using the WHs. So if you take a look at this picture, this is a picture of a great person, very famous person, and he is actually a leader and a warrior. And if I ask you what do you see and what do you know about this photo, this is the photo of Alexander the Great, and he's one of the great Roman heroes. And today we're going to read about him. Some of you may have heard about him, or maybe you're going to study this in your book anyway. So I'm going to read for you, and I hope you later practice after me with your reading, so it's good to read. So Alexander the Great, he was born in Pella, Macedonia, and he died in Babylon. So Alexander the Great was born in the kingdom of Macedonia in northern Greece. He was taught politics, military tactics, and critical thinking by Aristotle the philosopher, until he reached the age of 16, when he was appointed captain of the Macedonian army. He soon earned respect from the soldiers for his courage and brilliant military strategies. When Alexander was 20, his father was assassinated and he became king of Macedonia. Alexander went on to conquer the rest of Greece and the Persian Empire despite facing incredibly difficult odds. By the end of his 13-year reign, his empire stretched over 3 continents. The empire was linked together by an international network of trade and commerce. Alexander died at the age of 33 from a fever. So that was a quick short passage about one of the heroes that we know in history, which is Alexander the Great. Another famous person, his name is Diogenes. As you can see his photo here, he had a friend, his friend was a dog, and he was famous to carry always a lamp in the daytime. So let's read about Diogenes. So he was born in Sinope, modern Turkey. He died in Corinth, in Greece. So Diogenes was born in Sinope, modern Turkey. He was an ancient Greek philosopher. He was a controversial figure because he used his lifestyle and behavior to criticize the social values and institutions of the corrupt society of that time. He also believed that human beings should not live in luxury. He became famous because he used to carry a lamp in the daytime, claiming to be looking for an honest man. So that was also about Diogenes. So we had two heroes we talked about. One of them is a great military leader, which is Alexander the Great, and also another philosopher, which is Diogenes. Now, what does the word hero mean? Many students would say that hero is a Superman, is Iron Man, is Batman, and all of those with big muscles and supernatural powers, but these are not real heroes. These are, fictional heroes. The real heroes are really human beings just like us. Could be a father, could be a mother, and our history is full of great heroes. And the first hero is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also a great warrior, maybe even better leader than Alexander the Great, which is Khalid ibn al-Walid. Also, we can talk about Salah ad-Din and too many other real heroes in our history, and they are real. So the word hero actually has too many different meanings, but for us, the real hero could be a father, also could be a mother. So it's just a human being, okay? He is brave, he's honest, and he stands still even though he faces obstacles. So this is the real meaning of a hero. And we just had for number two examples of heroes based on your background information. We just talked about Alexander the Great and Diogenes, and I would prefer to also add Khalid ibn Walid, Salah ad-Din, and our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let's see the answers. So what does the word hero mean? It's a man of distinguished courage, very brave or ability, admired for his brave deeds and noble qualities. The two examples are Alexander the Great and Diogenes. Okay, now let's get some vocabulary. Now look at the words and choose the correct meanings for A, B, C. So we have three options, A or B or C, and we have the words in green from 1 to 5, and we need to know their meanings. So once you find somebody who is who's fussy, which is, does it mean A, happy, B, difficult to please, or noisy? So someone who's fussy, it is someone who's difficult to please. He is a fussy person. It means he is not an easy person. He has his own mood. 2, feared. When you fear something, are you afraid of something, or be hated or liked? Of course, when you fear something, you are afraid or scared of something. So therefore, number 2. So 1 goes for B, difficult to please, and number 2 goes for A, afraid of. 3, wealthy. Does it mean A, a rich person, or not ill, or kind? And I think wealthy means A rich person. He is a wealthy person. It means he has a lot of money. 4, possession. Does it mean a problem, pleasure, or belonging? So my possession, it means C, my belongings. And number 5, response. Does it mean A, question, B, solution, or C, an answer? And of course, response is an answer. I called the company and I did not get any response. It means I didn't get any answer. So these are the answers. For fussy, number 1, we got B, difficult to please. Fear something is afraid of something, which is A. And 3, wealthy means A, rich. And 4, possession means belonging, which is C. And 5, response, also C, which means an answer. Now, if we move on to more about some listening here, okay? So listen to the dialogue and write, is it A or B or N? So A for Alexander, D for Diogenes, N for neither of the two if it is not mentioned in a dialogue. If it's not mentioned in the dialogue. So before you get your headphones and try to guess with me, is it A, Alexander, or Diogenes, or N, none of them? You need to read these questions before you listen. Number 1, I'm lying in the sun. So we're going to listen and hear. Who's lying in the sun? A or D, or none of them? 2, people are afraid of me. 3, I can recognize my friends from my enemies. 4, I'm a philosopher. 5, I have a lot of money and power. And 6, I'm an honest man. I am an honest man. So we'll try to play this for you, okay, and see if you guess the meanings of these, conversations, okay? So Again, I would always try to remind you that you should always try to guess the meaning of the listening, and before you listen, always read the questions before you listen to anything. Here is, after a while, I'm going to play for you the listening. Try to follow with him. This is the text of the listening, which says here, okay, it's Tony and Andrew and a teacher, and they're talking about either Diogenes or Alexander the Great. So we need to put for them the Diogenes or in here A or D or neither of them.
2A. Listening and reading. B. If two important historical figures like Alexander the Great and Diogenes met, what would be interesting about their meeting? Listen to the dialogue and check your answers. Some students are discussing with their history teacher what happened when Alexander the Great met Diogenes. The students are very curious about it.
Excuse me, but what is so important about this meeting?
Well, that's an interesting question. You probably know Alexander the Great, but do you know who Diogenes was?
I know. Wasn't Diogenes the eccentric philosopher who the ancient Athenians admired greatly?
Exactly. He believed that human beings shouldn't live their lives in luxury, and he also thought that people shouldn't be fussy about where they sleep or what they eat, and they should know how to tell their friends from their enemies. So, can any of you guess what is so important about this meeting?
Maybe Diogenes asks Alexander for something?
Almost. You see, Alexander was a powerful man who many people feared. He was also very wealthy. Diogenes, who lived in a tub, was only a poor philosopher. His only possession was a lamp, which he carried around during the day. He claimed he was looking for an honest man. In this meeting, Alexander tells Diogenes, "Ask of me anything you like, and you will have it." What do you think Diogenes' response was?
A new tub?
No, but close. Diogenes was sunning himself at the time. He simply told Alexander, who was now blocking the sun, "Stand out of my sunlight."
So, as you heard, Diogenes and Alexander met together, and Alexander was blocking him, and Diogenes went to see the sun. So, who was in the sun? Was it Alexander or Diogenes? And I think number one is Diogenes, because he wanted to stay in the sun. Okay, and number two, people are afraid of me. And we know that people used to fear Alexander because he was a military person and a great leader. And number three, I can recognize my friends from my enemies. No one said this, so we put N. So again, number one goes for Diogenes, number two goes for Alexander, A, and number three, N, neither of them. Number four, I'm a philosopher. Of course, the philosopher is Diogenes. And number five, I have a lot of money and power. This is Alexander the Great. And finally, I am an honest man. We didn't hear this neither from Diogenes nor from Alexander. So number one is D, number two is A, number three, is N, number four is D, number five is A, and number six is N. So here are the answers: D-A-N-D-A-N. D stands for Diogenes, and A for Alexander, and N for neither of them. Now I'll try to make you listen to the conversation, okay? And let's see if you can really follow with the conversation and the text. If you want me to read, this is Andrew, and he was talking about the two philosophers when the two philosophers met.
2A. Listening and reading. B. If two important historical figures like Alexander the Great and Diogenes met, what would be interesting about their meeting? Listen to the dialogue and check your answers. Some students are discussing with their history teacher what happened when Alexander the Great met Diogenes. The students are very curious about it.
Excuse me, but what is so important about this meeting?
Well, that's an interesting question. You probably know Alexander the Great, but do you know who Diogenes was?
I know. Wasn't Diogenes the eccentric philosopher who the ancient Athenians admired greatly?
Exactly. He believed that human beings shouldn't live their lives in luxury, and he also thought that people shouldn't be fussy about where they sleep or what they eat, and they should know how to tell their friends from their enemies. So, can any of you guess what is so important about this meeting?
2A.
But do you know who Diogenes was?
The ancient Athenians admired.
That people shouldn't be fussy about what's so important about this meeting.
Maybe Diogenes asks Alexander for something?
Almost. You see, Alexander was a powerful man who many people feared. He was also very wealthy. Diogenes, who lived in a tub, was only a poor philosopher. His only possession was a lamp, which he carried around during the day. He claimed he was looking for an honest man. In this meeting, Alexander tells Diogenes, "Ask of me anything you like, and you will have it." What do you think Diogenes' response was?
A new tub.
No, but close. Diogenes was sunning himself at the time. He simply told Alexander, who was now blocking the sun, "Stand out of my sunlight."
So that was actually Diogenes who was standing in the sun. Okay. Now these are the answers again. And now let's move to something else. As we said at the beginning, we have say and tell, and we call them collocations. They almost have the same meaning, but we still use them in a different way. For example, you say something. What did you say? Ram said that he was tired. But when you use tell, you tell someone something. Okay, so you have a name, either a proper name or a pronoun or a subject after this. So Anthony says, what did he say? He said something. Anthony says, you have a new job. And here Anthony, what did he tell to somebody? Anthony tells me, you have a new job. And Tara said something. What is it? Tara said, I love you. And what did Tara tell to somebody? Tara told John that she loved him. This is the only difference between say and tell as collocations. And remember, we have too many words or verbs. They have the same meaning. And at the beginning, I said to you, we got work and job. We still have a difference between them. Work, anything you do. And job should be somebody you belong, you work in a company, you work in a factory, so this is your daily job. Such words are called collocations, and they have really the same meaning, but still a little bit different in using them in some certain cases. So we have say and tell here, so complete the sentences with the correct form of the phrases in the box. So we have say hello, say thank you, tell the truth, tell the time, and tell the difference. So number one, when someone does you a favor, it is only polite to. So when someone does you something good, you say thank you. Okay, so you say it's polite to say thank you. 2, Layla is teaching her kindergarten class how to tell the time. So we choose here for number 2, tell the time. And for number 3, we were in a neighborhood and just decided to pop in and say hello. So we were close, so we decided to come to your house and say hello. 4, many people find it really hard to what? Between the twins. Twins are 2 brothers or 2 sisters, or sometimes a brother and a sister, and they are born together at the same time. So it's always, many people find it hard to tell the difference between the twins. And finally, number 5, of course, is the last one, to tell the truth. I think that Harry was lying to us. To tell the truth, I think that Harry was lying to us. And here are the answers. Say thank you for number 1, tell the time for number 2, say hello for 3, tell the difference for 4, and for 5, tell the truth. Now here's another example of relative clauses. We always ask for the rule, and here we have an example of sentences we use with them: who or that, which, whose, when, and where. So for people like who? My father, my uncle, my brother, Ahmed, Ali, these are people. So we use both who or that. For example, they caught the man who spied for China, and both they caught the man that spied for China. So who or that, both is correct. Why? The man is people. Why we use who or that? The man is kind of people. Man is people. And also for which and that, which refers to objects, anything else but people: tree, recorder, wall, car. So we say, for example, I lost the map. Map is not people, it's an object. So I lost the map which she gave me, or both is correct when you say I lost the map that she gave me. And for 3, whose, that refers to possession, to belongings. For me, my book. So she complained to the man whose dog bit her. That's, or her dog bit her. It's the same. So you're talking about her dog. It's her possession. It's her belonging. And for 4, when, it refers always to a moment in time. So when you have days of the week, once you see days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when you see days of, month like June, July, when you have dates like 2015, 1995, and so on, occasion, weekend, also we use it for maybe Ramadan, Eid. These are all moments in time and occasions. So Christmas Day is a day when, because it's a moment in time, people are happy. And you can say Ramadan is a day when people are feeling humble. And you can say Eid is a day when people celebrate. And now where finally refers to place. So places like home, house, mall, market. Here's an example. We visited the house. It's a place where our father was born. And finally, in some cases, in non-defining sentences, the word that cannot be replaced by who or which. For example, Mata Harry who. We cannot say here that. Okay, we must only use who, because you're talking about a non-defining sentence. There's only Mata Hari, who was a famous female spy. We cannot say Mata Hari that was, okay, who was a female spy. And it's the same for which. In the same thing, when non-defining sentences, we use only which, we don't use that. Buckingham Palace is very famous, which is in London. We don't say Buckingham Palace that is in London. Now finally, for some exercise, let's see. You have who, which, where, and whose. So who, we use it for people, which for things or for objects, where for places, and whose for belongings or for possessions. And we have two sentences. We need to put the two sentences together in one sentence using one of these four WHs. So for number one, first sentence, coffee is a drink. Okay. Second sentence, many people like to drink it in the morning. Now we have two sentences and we need to make them one. How? We use one of these. So coffee is a drink. Coffee is a drink. Is that a man? No. Is that a place? No. So it's which. So we need to put which here. For example, coffee is a drink which many people like to drink, and you have to drop it because now coffee is here and we don't have to repeat it here because now we have one sentence. So you can't say coffee is a drink which many people like to drink it. No. Coffee is a drink which many people like to drink in the morning. So we don't have to repeat it because these two sentences have become one. Number 2, Saad or Saeed Diab is giving a talk to our college. This is sentence number 1. Number 2, he writes poetry books. So Saeed Diab is people. Saeed Diab, who writes, and we don't have to say he here because now we have one sentence because we have Saeed Diab here. We don't have to repeat Saeed Diab here. Saeed Diab, who writes poetry, is giving a talk at our college. So again, Saeed Diab, who writes poetry books, is giving a talk at our college. Number 3, my brother is moving to another city. Sentence number 2, he will work as a doctor there. So another city, this is a place, so we choose where because we use where for places. So my brother is moving to another city where he will work as a doctor, and you don't have to say there because we have it another city, which is always there. So my brother is moving to another city where he will work as a doctor. You can't say my brother is moving to another city where he will work as a doctor there. It's already understood that he's going there because it has become one sentence. And finally, Mrs. Huda is my next door neighbor. Another sentence, her son speaks English very well. So whose English is very well? So we only have who's left and we have to use it here. So Mrs. Huda, whose, okay, whose son, okay, we don't have her because we don't have we don't have to keep here because we have whose, so we don't use both possessive adjectives here. So Mrs. Huda, whose son speaks English very well, is my next door neighbor. Let's take a look at the answers here. So coffee is a drink which many people like to drink in the morning, and that is one sentence now. 2, Saeed Diab, who writes poetry books, is giving a talk at our college. Number 3, my brother is moving to another city where he will work as a doctor. Number 4, Mrs. Huda, whose son speaks English very well, is my next door neighbor. So let's remember what did we do today. So we learned some good words like fussy means difficult to please, feared, afraid of something, wealthy, rich, possession, belonging. Response is an answer, and we talked about some collocations and the difference between say and tell. They start with a direct object, and here indirect object. It's the opposite for tell, indirect object and a direct object. And we also remembered how to use relative clauses using the WHs like who, which, or that. So who and that for people, which and that for things, and where for places, and whose for belonging, and when for a moment of time. Okay, here are references and resources you can check and go through. And finally, for more information and listen, you can visit us on this website, on Twitter, and on this number. And until I see you again or catch you again, I hope you have a nice evening, and salam alaikum.